Just pop on here to let you guys know that I think your show is brilliant. I love the sound effects, I love the stories, and I love the laughs. Loved having you guys on my show for Better Self and Net Worth, and I'm going to continue to listen to this show once a week as it is a comic relief for me just about every week. So thank you for that. Thank you for your brilliance, and thank you for sharing the laughs with us.
Seriously Sinister discusses true petty crimes that may be disturbing to some.
Or could be easy listening to all of you psychopaths out there.
Names and places have been changed to protect the hosts legally.
Listener discretion is not advised. Seriously Sinister.
Welcome to Seriously Sinister, two aspiring cult leaders just looking for their flock. This is Trevin.
And I'm Amanda. Oh my God, that is so damn true. We're just looking for our flock.
Yeah, jump on.
Can you believe this is our 1 year episode, Trevin?
I cannot believe it.
I know we were just talking about it, how we started recording in your old house, which for those who have started since the beginning, all of the perpetual eviction stuff.
Yeah.
And now we're in your new house in this badass studio space a year later.
It is wild. We've gone through so many different changes. The perpetual eviction. I lived in a basement. I worked on, I held the flashlight while Emily's dad worked on this house. And we just did so many things, and all the listeners and the conventions. And
I grew a baby.
You grew a baby. And to think that we wrote 52 stories.
Yeah.
Pretty much no breaks, except, a couple. But literally for an entire year, if I would have told myself before I got my mental health in check, before we started this show, and I told myself, in the next year, I want you to write 52 stories, I'd have been like, I can't do this.
Right.
I would have given up, but we just took it week by week. And, we are content spewing machines.
I know. I mean, when we first came up with this idea for the show, I feel like we were both kind of like in weird places where we had worked on another show and we really wanted create something so good and so different. And we were both kind of we'll see how this goes kind of thing.
Yeah, we really didn't even put it on a pedestal or really talk it up too much. We were just it was kind of like when they say the first idea is the best idea.
Yeah.
I was giving you suggestions. I was like, I don't know, something like Seriously Sinister. And they're like, but let's really think about what we're going to name this thing. And then, we talked about doing true crime, and I said, it took me 20 minutes on the phone. And I was like, true petty crime?
I know. You were like, you know what? What if we did this? And it was everything was so almost on a whim. Mm-hmm. Even though we were both overthinking it, but the things that really happened were let's just try this thing out, or what do you think about that? And I'm just really glad that it worked out.
Yeah, me too. I think we probably could have made just about anything work, but I'm so glad that this show has a scope and a mission with everything it does, and it's not just a straight up talk show or something. We did what we set out to do. We can still play with the true crime people. They can welcome us in, but we can still show off ourselves and show off our creativity too. Just with writing these stories and writing this music and doing something different with the sound effects.
Yeah, and I say this, I've probably said this a couple times on the show, but thank God we were both at least decent writers, because that was not planned, really. We weren't oh, can you write a story? I don't even think that was ever even asked.
It wasn't. We were just we'll do stories. We never talked about how they would be, how they would come to be.
It's just really weird. I'm really glad. I'm really proud of where our show has gone. So, yay!
Yeah,
for 1 year.
Us.
Hey, Jordan here, Amanda's husband that she always talks shit on. Just wanted to say happy 1 year anniversary of your show. Hopefully, there's many more sinister stories and shit talking to come.
But with all good things, sometimes bad things happen too, Trevin. So do you have a dreadful dilemma for us this week?
I have the 1 year dreadful dilemma.
Okay, tell us.
So a lot of my dreadful dilemmas and things I go through have to do with work. And I had a bit of a weird encounter at work the other day.
Oh, no.
So I work on a dead-end road. It's a kind of a trashy little street. And I'm right off of a highway. And we recently had a wreck happen. A truck hit something and caught on fire right under the bridge.
Damn.
So there was no traffic that could come to our side of the bridge. There was no on-ramp traffic.
Okay.
There was no off-ramp traffic to go. The only thing you could do is go north at one point. Then a trash truck on the exit down from us flipped. And so all the police and all this stuff were like, where do we go? Do we go to this exit or do we go to this exit? So while all this is happening, of course, and this happens all the time here, everybody's just glued to the windows, rubbernecking, trying to see people being hurt or whatever, chunks of car, I don't know.
Right.
And there's this girl or woman that works, not in my department, but she works on my floor. And I don't particularly enjoy her. I think she's a little annoying. But
It happens.
She literally door dashes her lunch every day. And
She DoorDashed during that?
She door dashed during that.
No.
But it gets worse.
Oh, God.
She was so pissed that her DoorDash was late. Because on this particular day, she ordered P.F. Chang's. And I totally get loving Chinese and wanting your Chinese.
Yeah.
But I was like, somebody's hurt. And then she just kept going around saying like, I don't give a fuck. What's wrong? I don't know. I want this. Complaining. Turns out the vehicle on our street, the guy died. And she's still just like, and like her guys, because she ordered the lunch for her and her crew, or at least she talked them into having it too. And the guys
just so she's not the only one.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
God.
they were finally like, whoa, I'm not upset anymore. Like,
yeah.
that's sad. She's like, I don't fucking know that guy. I want my food.
Wow.
She was like texting the DoorDash guy or messaging him, however that works, being like, where are you? Where are you? And the guy's like, dude. The guy ended up walking.
Oh, come on.
Brought it to her. She was still pissed. The guys that were on the order as well, like handed him a pretty good wad of cash.
I was going to ask, did she not tip him?
Well, they tipped him big, the guys did, and then they kind of put her in this awkward position and said, I hope you tip him good. Don't know if she did on the app or not.
Wow.
But yeah, it was just like one of those situations where, I mean, I love good dark humor, make a little joke about it, whatever. But she was serious.
Woo!
And she was hungry.
That, I understand why she is not your friend at work.
Yeah, she's not for me.
Oh my God. I mean, I think a human life is, more important than your P.F. Chang's.
Yeah, for real. So it may not be my dreadful dilemma, except for witnessing that.
Yeah.
It was more of hers.
Yeah, I agree. Wow. That was a really good one. I do have a dreadful dilemma, Trevin.
All right.
You already know about it, but as you know, recently your lovely, lovely woman put together a baby sprinkle for me.
Oh, that's right. I was there.
Yeah. And so it's a baby celebration for our second child. So I guess they call them sprinkles because you don't need to be showered with gifts. You just need to be sprinkled on a little bit.
Yeah. Sometimes that's how the baby gets made.
Oh my God. And so she planned it to be at this winery called Belvoir. Is that how you say it? Belvoir Winery?
Belvoir. I don't know. I think some people do the war.
Yeah.
Like Jaguar.
Well, regardless, it's in Liberty, Missouri. So if any listeners live by that area or are close, not only is it like really historic and beautiful, but it is haunted. So in the room, we have our own little event, room that was designated just to our party. there's a little room next to our room that has a glass case laying down with a small little skeleton inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a little description about the skeleton, and his name is George. I don't even know if I read the description. Did you?
I want to say that he was like the groundskeeper or something, but I forget. I read his whole story, not that time, but the first time I was in there.
Oh, okay.
But I've done forgot it.
So, my daughter Lila is going to be turning 4 this summer, but she's still 3 right now. She was obsessed with George.
Everywhere she would talk to us and say, "You want to see George?"
Yeah, she was bringing all my friends and family members into this other room to show them George. She was saying that George was her new best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And then, even at the end of the party, when she was like saying goodbye to people, you probably remember this, she like spoke in a demonic voice and was like, George says, "I love you. Goodbye." And everyone was telling me that my daughter was going to bring home a demon or an evil spirit back home, which thankfully that didn't happen. But my main dreadful dilemma, long story short, is that once we got home, we had fun games, awesome food. People even gave Lila gifts. Like 4 people gave, or I think even 5, gave her a gift as like you're a big sister now.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her, what was your favorite part of the baby party? And she said, freaking George.
Yeah, and this is a real skeleton.
Yes.
Like, this isn't like a fake one with a name. Like, this is like the real skeleton of a guy to help bring up the whole spookiness of the place.
And so, like, it's kind of funny, but it also was like, really, bruh? That's your favorite part?
She's a spooky girl.
Yeah, she's like a very girly girl, but she like loves zombies and ghosts and skeletons. She's a really funny girl.
Yeah, which, she couldn't have had a better mom to help allow her to spread her spooky wings and find more love within that.
Exactly. Spread those wings, girl. Ugh.
Hey, Seriously Sinister. It is Casey from Canada. Hey, guys. I just wanted to pop in and say hello and happy 1-year anniversary. I am so happy for you guys and so stoked about enjoying your 1-year episode. Like, it's been a long time. I know that I have definitely been there since at least the first month. Like, I remember the Mellified Man, and I sat there and I told everybody. Like, I went nuts. My mom thinks that she's famous now on her episode of me breaking into my own house and having a little petty crime there. Yes, she did get kicked in the face. She honestly, like, to this day is just like, well, frostbite isn't sexy. Happy 1-year anniversary. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Love you guys. Bye.
So we are doing killer facts today, right, Trevin?
We are.
Hello.
We've traced the facts. They're coming from inside the house.
Killer facts.
So, Trevin,
Yes.
this week for my killer fact, I wanted to talk about pepper spray.
Okay.
Or you might also know of it as mace, which I did a lot of research, and pepper spray and mace are technically 2 different things.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. And the tricky part is that mace is also a brand as well.
Oh, so it's kind of like calling tissue paper Kleenex.
Yes.
Okay.
But there is a difference between them, and I'll get into that. But to give just a brief history of when mace came about, who invented it, it actually was made in the 1960s, which I was like, damn, I wouldn't have thought it was made that far back. But it was created by a man named Alan Lee Littman and his wife, Doris Littman. And the reason they created this was because one of Doris's colleagues was robbed in Pittsburgh. And so they went ahead and did all this experimenting in their house and invented this shit. So that's pretty impressive and kind of cool to me. So, what is the difference between mace and pepper spray, you may ask? Mace is more of a tear gas, and they categorize it more as an irritant, while pepper spray is more of an inflammatory agent.
Oh, okay.
So technically, I guess pepper spray is a little bit more aggressive. And usually pepper spray is more commonly used for police officers in like riot situations or things like that, where mace is usually what's more used for like personal defense. Honestly, you can use both for both.
Yeah.
And like I said, mace is a brand too. So that's where it gets a little bit confusing. But
So what is mace considered? Like, it's not a pepper spray, and you say that mace is a name brand. So if a Kleenex is a tissue paper, mace is what?
that's a good question.
Okay.
Because everything I looked up, mace is technically a thing. Like other companies can make mace, but they call it other things.
Wow.
Whereas mace, they trademarked that whole name. It's really weird because, yeah, I was wondering the same thing. I was like, okay, then what should we even really call it? But there's a difference between the actual item of, hey, this is mace that I've just made. Like, we can make mace, but there's a brand of mace too. That's like, no, we're the real mace. I don't know. It's weird.
Littman's got the damn mace monopoly.
I know. And then I just wanted to end it with some helpful tips on if you have to use this in a self-defense situation, because I just think this is very helpful. So, and I'm using this website called Datadot. I also got some of the history from Wikipedia. But there's a couple little bullet points here that I thought were helpful. It says, take time to practice it at home and learn how to use it quickly and efficiently. Which, like, you really don't want your first time using it to be when you're being harassed or something. Because I've heard a lot of stories about people spraying it in their own faces and whatnot.
So use it on your kid first, and then you're ready.
Use it on your bitch-ass neighbor first. Oh, my God. Also, it says, use your thumb to spray. Do not use your index finger. Which, honestly,
like a lighter.
I would have used my index finger. But it says to use your thumb because it allows you to grip the can better and prevents the attacker from grabbing the can from you better. Yeah. Like your grip on it is stronger. Spray directly at the face and eyes of your attacker for a few seconds until the attacker looks like they are debilitated. Then run away as fast as possible and get help. Also, make sure you spray away from yourself at all times and try to remain calm.
That's always good.
The last one is the spray may not fully incapacitate your attacker, but it will provide you with a means of escape.
Right. Yeah, you're not straight up harming them so much. You're just kind of like handicapping them for a bit.
Yeah. So like to keep that in mind, like that's not all you have to do. You know, that's just your get out of jail free card for like a few seconds, basically.
Hey, and that's all you need.
So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to talk about mace and pepper spray with you guys.
Great. Did you bring some for us to try on Emily? Oh, no. Episode's over.
Just kidding. But my husband actually did get maced in the face for fun once, and I witnessed it, and it was really disgraceful.
I feel like I had known that, or at least I just assumed with that guy.
Yeah.
Every time we talk about like some weird form of hood rattery, I'm always just like, that guy's probably done it.
Exactly.
All right. So I'm going to share one with you.
Okay.
I learned about this a couple months ago, maybe, off one of my favorite podcasts called The How To Heretic.
Ooh.
And they like to talk about like different odd things that religions did back in the day and stuff.
Nice.
And I found this and I thought, I'm going to save this for the 1 year.
Okay.
Because when we first started, one of the things people talked about to me was I never heard of the Mellified Man.
Oh my God. That was honestly, maybe still to this day, one of the coolest killer facts ever told on the show. And it was episode 1.
Yeah, I love that so much. So I thought, what if I introduced you all to the Mellified Man's ancestor from the East?
Okay.
So
I'd love to meet them.
This will not be as catchy as Mellified Man. I don't think people are going to catch me in the streets and say, hey, I really liked blah, blah, blah. Because it is called Soko Shin Butsu.
Oh, snap.
Are you familiar with Soko Shin Butsu?
can honestly say I'm not.
So Soku Shinbutsu is a Buddhist form of mummification.
Okay, I'm listening.
They did it between 1081 and they even did it as late as 1903. So I'm getting this from allthatinteresting.com.
Oh, all that's interesting?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've used them a lot. I love that.
I was going through Wikipedia and kind of compiling my own favorites, which is usually how I do this stuff. But once I was compiling stuff, I ran into this and I was like, shit, they're saying pretty much everything I want to say. I'm just going to use them.
Yeah.
So Soku Shinbutsu means becoming a Buddha in his body. In medieval Japan, this tradition developed a process called Soku Shinbutsu, which a monk completed over 3,000 days. It involved a strict diet called Moku Jiki.
Sounds delicious.
Which literally translates to eating a tree.
Oh, never mind.
The diet abstained from any cereals and relied on pine needles, resins, and seeds found in the mountains. This would help eliminate fat in the body, which I wish I knew that.
Are you going to join the pine needle diet now?
Maybe I'll dip a toe in and just get the fat part out of the way. Increasing rates of fasting and meditation would lead to starvation. The monks would then slowly reduce the need for liquid and stop drinking, becoming dehydrated and making their organs shrink.
Ooh, can't be good.
No. So this served two purposes. Began the body's biological preparation for mummification, as it eliminated fat, muscle from the frame, which prevented further decomposition by depriving the body's natural occurring bacteria of vital nutrients and moisture.
Oh.
On a more spiritual level, the extended, isolated quests for food would have a hardening effect on the monks' morale, whatever that means.
Wow.
I guess I get worn down going grocery shopping too. So this diet would typically last for 1,000 days, though some monks would repeat the course over and over again. So basically what they would do is they would just sit and meditate.
And eat pine needles and not drink anything for 1,000 days?
Yes, but then they would eventually get to the point where they would stop eating the pine needles, they would stop drinking water, and it says they would drink a small amount of salinized water, and then they would just continue to meditate until they didn't have anything. As death approached, the devotees would rest in a small, tightly cramped pine box.
Why all the pine?
That's a good question. They must have a lot around there.
Okay.
They would be meditating, and then they would just meditate in a box just big enough to sit in.
Oh,
so
God.
There'd be no elbow room or anything. Then your peeps would bury you, and they would put coal over your box, and then they would run a bamboo shoot through there into one little hole in the box so that you could kind of, like you were underwater, like breathing through a snorkel.
No!
But you would be breathing through this bamboo shoot while continuing to not eat, continuing to not drink, and just meditate. And I guess there was also a bell that like it was on a string. So you would kind of like ding the bell while you were meditating so people knew you were still alive.
Holy shit.
And then when the ringing stopped, the above ground monks would be like, okay, he finally died. And then they would seal your tomb at that point. Be like, okay, he's done. They'd pull up the little air thing and they'd shut you in there. And then they would leave you in there for another 1,000 days. Now, after unearthing the coffin, see, the reason why they do this is if you are like the true whatever, you're all that is man and holy, then when you come up, you'll be mummified. Or at least that's the goal.
Okay.
So,
and if you're not, you just like wasted that 1,000 days of torture for nothing and they don't love you anymore?
Yeah, so what happens is if you come up and you successfully did Soku Shinbutsu, they would dress you in robes and place you in a temple for worship. And I forget the number of how many there are, but there are plenty of them around, I think there was like 32, who actually successfully mummified themselves to death, and then their bodies stayed good, so they put them up in a temple and people would come in and pray and say, hey, holy mummy. And then that would be that. You'd be like a special guy. But
okay,
if you came up and you decomposed, they'd be like, shoot, I guess he wasn't worthy. And then they would just bury you.
Oh my God.
Like they didn't say you were shitty or anything. It was like a noble thing. Like, you tried.
Man, you tried your best, but you're just not perfect enough.
Yeah, you're just not the Buddha.
Damn.
So then they would just give you a nice burial and say, you'd get the burial, but would you have a funeral when they sealed the tomb, or would they wait those 1,000 days? That's a good question. But it was eventually...
Probably they'd wait, right?
I would... it makes sense. Because, you don't want to have a funeral and then realize, like, oh, that was, like, a really important person. That funeral should have been bigger.
Right. Right.
So, in 1877, it was actually criminalized and said, do not do this. This is basically like assisted suicide, and it's very weird.
I'd say.
And then eventually one guy did it in 1903 illegally.
Oh, 1903.
Yeah, so in the 1900s, somebody still did it.
That seems really crazy.
Yeah, but it's kind of creepy and just, it's really weird to think, Mellified Man, you were mummifying yourself on the inside, but it seemed like you were kind of on your deathbed and just kind of slowly going away.
This one sounds way worse.
And bad for your back. Yeah. You're not laying down, you're sitting up.
Yeah, you're sitting and then you're breathing under dirt or coal or whatever the hell. Oh my God.
Yeah, you're buried. And you've got to be buried pretty deep, I imagine. But yeah, I wonder how many people got down there and like, I regret my decision.
Yeah, like I'd be like, in the little straw, but no one would probably know.
No.
Oh my God. I don't like it one bit. It does sound a lot. Mellified Man has a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
But man, this one's way worse.
Yeah, Mellified Man was first, and that was more of an Egyptian sort of area.
Yeah.
And then this was more like Japanese and stuff. But yeah,
and at least they got to eat honey,
Yeah, people like to do some weird mummy stuff back in the day. And the weird thing is, this one spilled into the 1900s a little bit.
Maybe it'll come back in fashion.
I want to bring it back.
Wow. Well, that was a great nod to a year ago's not dreadful dilemma, killer fact.
Yeah, it's dreadful for some, I'm sure.
It's pretty damn dreadful, though, I will say. Wow. Well, we're to story time now.
Yep.
So Trevin and I both decided in honor of the 1 year that we were both going to go personal stories this week.
Yeah, because we did nothing but personals for the first 2 episodes.
Right. Well, and I did them for I swear to God, the first 5 or something. I told a lot of personals at the beginning. So it's kind of just, throwing it back.
Yeah, it's
I
fitting.
haven't done a personal in a while. I was a little apprehensive about doing this story, but after talking to a few people, I realized that this is a crime that must be told. So for this story, I have changed all names for anonymity purposes, and I won't be going into specifics of where the quote-unquote crime scene was per se, just because again it's a personal story. Usually when I tell my personals, a lot of names and things are made up, but on occasion I'll just go wild and be like, here it is. But this is one of those where I was like, I'm gonna change some things. So anyway, here we go. What comes to mind when you think of your bathroom? Is it a sanctuary you escape to when you need a break from your kids or partner? I'm taking a shit. Or is it a place filled of resentment, visited after every time your lactose intolerant self ingests cheese?
Oh no.
There are so many emotional activities that take place in bathrooms. Whether you are finding out if you're pregnant or not, or scrolling on your phone and stopping on some huge celeb gossip.
Pete Davidson, you sly dog.
The toilet can become your ivory throne into a new reality. But there's a different kind of bathroom that we have all unfortunately experienced. A less personal space with unexpected twists and turns. A public restroom. In the past on our show, Trevin has discussed the tension and awkwardness of entering a men's public restroom within the workplace. Well, today, I'm here to share some insight into what some call the ladies' room. In my mid-20s, I found myself working in an office full of mainly female employees. It was a drastic shift from the other jobs I had worked at that were male-dominated, and the bosses all had a case of small pee-pee syndrome.
You've never worked a day in your life like I have.
Sure, there may have been a tad more gossip here, but at least we didn't have to hide our tampons out of shame, and we could keep our shared spaces tidy, right? Wrong. In this office, we had a couple of private restrooms and one shared restroom with multiple stalls. Stepping into a shared women's restroom, you just never know what you're gonna get. To try and stay alert, I would find myself recognizing my coworkers' shoes from underneath the stalls to predict how this restroom encounter would proceed. If I saw Susie's stylish sandals, I knew I could relax, go about my business, and then share ridiculous life updates with her as we washed our hands in unison. I had burritos for lunch. Can you tell? If I saw Karen's New Balance tennis shoes, I knew I was in for an awkward time, as she would often let out gentle toots at the end of her urination, and then try to cover up the sound after the fact unsuccessfully. Now, if I saw Bertha's bare feet under the stall, I knew to leave immediately and wait until a private restroom was available, because no one wanted to be in the presence of Bertha's IBS. Everybody run! At this office, we used a company message board to stay on task for the day, wish our coworkers a happy birthday, and of course, make a few passive-aggressive complaints. The majority of these complaints had to do with the company bathrooms. One minute, someone would share an adorable photo of their precious newborn baby, and the next there would be a long paragraph filled with sick green emojis and exclamation points regarding toilets. It was always jarring each time a new message board complaint would come through, but it had almost become an everyday occurrence over time. The complaints had a range of intensity levels, starting with a mild lecture on replacing the empty toilet rolls with a full roll of 2-ply like a respectable human being. On the more severe complaints, however, it was almost as if someone had pulled an alarm bell, warning us that we were about to drown in sewage if we didn't escape quickly. There was one repeating complaint, however, that was becoming increasingly unsettling for everyone in the office. Someone among us had begun to wipe their rear end with a paper towel after a number 2 and was leaving the evidence out for everyone to see in the bathroom's trash can. I would always get a feeling deep in my stomach when I heard coworkers gathering and gasping outside of the bathrooms.
Look at this shit!
Soon afterwards, I would see another disapproving message board complaint come through. The evil excreter had dropped another stink bomb inside of the bathroom trash can. There had been a handful of complaints made at this point, and although I had never personally witnessed any of these shitty acts of terrorism, I always felt the leftover stink lingering in the office building's air. That is when one day we all received a message board post from our company's CEO, requesting that we all meet up in a common area for a meeting. This made sense because it was our busiest time of the year, and we honestly did have a ton of important details to discuss amongst the different departments. Walking into the common area, I could feel extra tension in the air and quickly realized we weren't gathered to discuss workflows or deadlines. The CEO was a beautiful yet intimidating woman. You never knew if she was going to greet you with a smile and a free lunch, or walk up to your desk and tell you to redo everything you had worked on for an entire month. But I could tell by her current stance that she meant business. She had her arms crossed and one foot pointed out to the side, standing right in front of the office restrooms. As soon as we all took our seats, the meeting had begun. The CEO began to speak into the silent room as we all sat frozen in anticipation. As we are all aware, someone has been desecrating our shared restroom with their feces, and I am at my limit. I walked into the restroom to find yet another dirty paper towel in the trash can. At this point, I'm taking this as a personal attack. Because now I will be spending my afternoon cleaning up this mess. Does it bring you joy to watch me clean this up, whoever you are? It is someone in this office. I will get to the bottom of this, and when I find out who it is, you will be immediately terminated. I tried to keep my face composed during the CEO's speech, but that has never really been a strong suit of mine. I glanced around the room, seeing others with strained looks of solemnness and fear. The intensity of the speech had made me question my own reality for a moment, as I wondered if I somehow was the one at fault for this shit show. But I quickly snapped myself back to reality, as I had 100% certainty that I wiped my ass like a normal person. Besides, it was most likely Bertha. After the meeting, the CEO put on gloves and carried out the contaminated trash bag in a fury. A week later, workers had come in and installed multiple cameras surrounding the doors of the office restrooms. It was clear that the hunt for the evil excreter was still an ongoing and open investigation. I never found out who the criminal was, or if they had indeed been fired for their stinky attitude. Some days I picture that it is still a mystery, permanently ingrained into my former coworkers' nose hairs. While other days I picture the cameras catching the criminal in a sting operation right after they dropped a deuce in the trash can.
I gotcha!
I may never know the ending to this petty crime story, and that is something that I have to find peace with. Although, let's get real. It was most likely Bertha.
A meeting for poop.
I have never, Trevin, experienced a work meeting like that before that or afterwards. I mean, it was like the CEO was having to carry someone's shit with her bare hands and was like going to murder whoever it was in their whole family.
Yeah, and why is the CEO the one doing it anyway? That's kind of weird.
I know. I don't know. But she felt like it was a personal attack. I think it was just a person who, for some strange reason, just had trouble going number 2 or liked the feeling of paper towels over toilet paper, or I don't know. I really don't know what the motivation was, but I don't think it was a personal attack.
No, I think that person is a little self-centered to be like, your poop habits are all trying to affect me. I have a problem with this. Yeah, that's weird.
Oh my God. So I know that guys don't have the same issue with, lots of stalls necessarily. Like you might have like 1 or 2 stalls maybe, but the rest are like urinals or whatever. But it's like a real thing. I don't know if I'm the only girl who does this, but I would look like, okay, what shoes are next to me? Because this is either going to get really weird or it'll be fine.
We have at our work 1 stall, and you can see so perfectly. I mean, you can't see perfectly into it. You can kind of see their eyes if you're like trying, I guess. But when you're washing your hands, you can see it catty corner behind you. You can see their shoes. And there's only about like 25 people up there where we are. So you kind of know who's who. And so people will, if it's somebody they don't like or whatever, they'll just flip the lights off to the bathroom and leave them in there by themselves while they're taking a dump. But I will say,
like as a joke or like,
yeah, it's a joke. It's not a straight up bully tactic.
I was going to say
they call it the deuce in the dark.
Oh my God.
They call it, yeah. I will say there was one, and this is really not my place for a story, but I've been wanting to bring this up somewhere in this show organically, and you've really given me a good place here.
There you go.
I walked into the bathroom one time, and so I work in a corporate building where we get a lot of these like thin little businessy guys like right out of college who wear the polos and think they're hot shit. And there was some people out of town in our big conference room, and I had kind of noticed the guy. I was like, this guy doesn't look like a guy I'd want to talk to. And I remember I went in to go pee in the bathroom, and I opened the door, and there was somebody in the urinal. I don't know if somebody in the stall. And I don't know if it was somebody on my team or if it was another person that was there with them. But this guy is like drying his hands in the most like angry way. And he's not looking into the stall, but he's kind of leaning his head towards them, talking to him. And he goes, "Oh my God, you fucking stink. Oh, you just smell like shit." Like, this guy was being so mean and like direct. And it's like, I don't know if that's your friend. I don't know if it's just a random person. I don't know if you go around stink shaming poopers or what, but I'm just like, this guy is the devil.
Holy hell.
And he didn't really stop when I came in either. If it was me and I was for some reason awful,
degrading someone through the stall.
If somebody walked in, I'd be like, "Oh, have a good day." You know, I would at least like try not to gain enemies besides the one guy on the toilet. But no, he was just letting him have it, just berating this guy.
How did it end? Did you see the guy come out of the stall afterwards?
No, he was still in there when I left. He was probably crying.
Oh my God, bro.
The other guy threw his paper towel away and left.
Wow.
But anyway, on your story though, you know, maybe that boss had like a poop fetish. And so it was like really triggering. And it was just like, this is just trying to get me back in the game. That was a thought of mine I was having as well.
You are going to actually kill me. Oh my God.
But if I was being more realistic about it, I would maybe think to look at maybe the oldest person there. I know a lot of younger ladies work there.
There were a lot of theories because we all were talking about it after that meeting because we truly thought we were going to go to a meeting and be like, "Hey, busy season, we need to kind of like discuss this and this and this." And instead it was the most intense, dramatic meeting of my life, and it was about shit. So it really caught us all off guard. But there was an older person in the office that maybe we considered. And then there was, you know, a couple unsanitary people that maybe we considered. But yeah, I still to this day don't know who it was.
The use of paper towels is weird. My grandma, she used to always use the trash can instead of flushing it. And that's just because back in the day, they couldn't handle that. The toilets couldn't handle it.
The pipes couldn't.
And they just like, I have it.
Yeah, and a lot of different cultures too, still to this day, will throw those paper towels, toilet paper, whatever, away instead of flushing them. So I even like was thinking about that route, but honestly...
But it eventually stopped.
I don't know.
Oh.
I ended up, you know, stopping working there. I don't think it's continued. But there was 2 cameras installed so that you could see whoever was coming into the area of the restrooms and then specifically who was going into each restroom, like a little closer up. So maybe they were caught. Maybe they weren't. I really don't know. But maybe...
I would think if they got caught the way this CEO acts in meetings, this would have been a public stoning. Like, you would have known that person got caught.
We would have had another meeting. It would have been like that guy. "You smell."
God, you fucking stink. Now go back to work.
But yeah, no, I mean, everything about the story is honestly like exactly how I remember it. The message boards were just blowing up with shit talk. And I just wanted to show pictures of Lila, you know? I never witnessed it or was offended or noticed the shitty terrorism acts happening. But it was always something, you know?
Yeah. Wow. Well, that sounds like an adventure.
It was.
I'm just sitting here in my hot tub on a Wednesday morning, enjoying Trevin, but that Amanda, she's the bomb. You two keep up the good work. Love Seriously Sinister.
All right. So as said earlier, I also will be doing a personal story.
Can't wait.
This may be the youngest I've ever gone for myself as far as my personals.
Okay. Baby Trevin.
So let's just jump on in here and we'll talk about it afterwards. And here we go. Over the past year or so, you listeners have taken a journey through getting to know me. And to be honest, I've shared that same journey with you in getting to know myself. You've joined me in recollecting my blue mustache story. You've experienced the time I got jumped and even saw how I handled a shoplifting toddler. We even made new memories together, as the show chronicled the rise and fall of my band for a day, Perpetual Eviction. Although I can assure you that there are plenty of petty encounters that I've yet to share on this podcast, the story that I am about to share may very well be the one that started it all. Like a later sequel in the Saw series, I'm going to provide earlier context that will change the way you think about everything you thought you knew.
My God.
So do your best impression of a first-time father in the 90s and hold the camcorder, because we are about to witness the birth of evil. The year was 1996. I was a first grader with a love for art and video games. Most of my time was spent copying pictures off of comic books or playing Super Nintendo. As a bit of a black sheep in a Midwestern country family, I struggled with being different. While my dad would put in his time at his paying job and then come home to maintain pastures and hay cows, there was always a vehicle or tractor needing a man to put their elbow grease to it. But I wasn't interested. I lived blissfully, oblivious to the needs of the farm, while living in my own little world. I had a few friends at this time, but my closest friend was Luke. You may recall Luke from some of my past stories. Living just 3 houses down from me, we have known each other since I was probably 2 years old, making Luke my oldest friend. In this particular week, I had been eagerly anticipating the weekend. It was mid-November, and Luke was having his 7th birthday party. There was sure to be plenty of games, cake, and all-around fun to be had. And like most situations as a youngster, time couldn't have moved more slowly. But it was Friday. All of my patience had finally paid off. All I had to do was make it through the last hour of Mrs. Roberts' class, and I would be home free. All right, children. As you know, we have reached the midterms of your second quarter of first grade, the cheery teacher stated. Things are a little different from how they were in kindergarten. You all will receive actual grades that you will take home to show your parents. As I was still very new in the school system, I had not mentally acclimated myself to the process of evaluating a child's worth with grades. What's a couple of letters on a grade card anyway? I came in, I do my time, so I felt that was all that was really expected of me. I sat at my desk, one eye watching the clock, and the other following the blonde woman walking to each student's desk. She looked down at the next paper in her stack and quickly looked up to me. We made eye contact as she started to walk in my direction. At that moment, I didn't feel nervous. These papers didn't really mean anything to me yet. She stood beside me, sat the midterm report on my desk, and bent down to get on my level. Her finger landed on the paper and slowly slid across until it stopped on the letter D. I had to give you a D on your reading because your comprehension isn't very good. Still not sure how to take this, I just nodded until she said more. You can do better, and I'm going to need to see a lot more improvement out of you. I am disappointed. That word I knew. That word meant that my parents would also be disappointed. In the teacher's tone alone, I knew that I had done bad, and I should feel immense shame for my actions. But this was not the time to be disappointing my parents. I had big birthday plans the next day. After the final bell had rang, I walked to get on my bus to go home. As I lived in the country, I was one of the last stops on our bus route. I sat in silence for the entire 45-minute bus ride, just ruminating over my failure. my mind began to play out scenarios of how my mother would handle the news that her son was a big fat failure.
Mom, I got a bad grade.
I knew this day would come.
I got a D.
I couldn't take the chance of any of those coming true. Even if the consequences were less harsh, there was still a good chance that I would have to miss Luke's birthday party. Still working through the plan in my head, I noticed that we were stopped in front of my house. I got up from the gray leather-bound bus seat and began to walk out. I walked around the front of the bus and stopped in my driveway to watch my bus drive away. I knew it was do or die time for covering up this secret once and for all. Once the bus was finally out of sight, I took my backpack off, sat it at my feet, and pulled the progress report out. In an almost military-like uniformity, I dramatically marched back across the gravel road to the ditch opposite my house. I stared into the small trench, knowing I was at a fork in the road. My next move was crucial. This action would set the course for the rest of my life. Would I live a life of good and honesty, or would I forever cement myself as a criminal in the eyes of a disapproving society?
Sinner!
But remembering that a birthday party was on the line, I chose the path that would lead to cake. I crumbled up the paper into a loose ball and threw it into the ditch. I then walked back across the road, put on my backpack, and entered my home. Little did I know that at the time of my bus arriving at my house, my mother had looked out the window to see her sweet child get off the bus safely.
There's my good boy.
She was in complete shock to see me stop to pull something out of my book bag and then throw it into the ditch across the street. She waited to greet me once I entered the house and then made an excuse to step outside real quick.
I need to go get cigarettes.
As I had got myself situated and was preparing an after-school snack, my mother was across the street, uncovering the ugly truth.
What the fuck?
My mother waited for my dad to get home so she could have reinforcements. They sat me down in my dad's blue recliner and proceeded to interrogate me. "Did you bring anything home from school that you needed to show us?" my father asked, staring me down. I couldn't keep a straight face. My nose began to quiver as my mouth began to smirk. "Nope, not that I know of," I very meekly replied. After many more times of asking and casting judgmental looks of disbelief, my mother pulled out a wrinkled progress report. "I saw you throw this into the ditch when you got home." My eyes widened in fear. Like any child would, I began frantically yelling and arguing that it was not my fault.
No!
I was put through a hasty trial, where my parents, the judge, jury, and executioners decided that I would be sentenced to a grounding from friends for 1 week, missing Luke's highly anticipated 7th birthday, with an additional 3 spankings for lying. In the end, I learned my lesson on lying, but I never got any better with the second quarter grades. Throughout the lifespan of my grade school career, I missed most of Luke's birthday parties. I would treat progress reports like a random lottery, just hoping that they would grant me admittance into the event, as if my actions or preparation in class had nothing to do with the outcome. At the time, I believed that my parents had acted too harshly. Missing a once-in-a-lifetime event for something as stupid as a dumb teacher's opinion was reckless at best. It was obvious that this teacher was out to get me. And the extra spankings with the punishment was literally adding injury to insult. But with my newfound knowledge on the law, I believe that I may have actually gotten off easy. According to criminaldefenselawyer.com, a person commits the federal crime of tampering with evidence when he or she knowingly alters, conceals, falsifies, or destroys any record, document, or tangible object with the intent to interfere with an investigation, possible investigation, or proceedings. The U.S. government takes tampering with evidence very seriously. A person who is convicted of the crime under federal law may face a prison sentence of no more than 20 years, a fine, or both. Had I received the maximum penalty for my actions on that fateful day, I wouldn't have seen the free world again until I was 26. And had I gotten completely away with it, think of what direction my life may be in now. Maybe I would have graduated to a bigger Class A misdemeanor, like prostitution, or indecent exposure.
Have yourself a gander at this.
Looking back at where all of this could have taken me, maybe having a wooden paint paddle smacked across my bare butt cheeks is the only reason I'm telling you this story today.
Holy crap, Trevin, you little devil.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that if you would have been prosecuted at the highest intensity of your crimes,
Yes.
that you wouldn't have been able to go to Lucas's birthday, or Luke as you call him, till he turned 26.
Well, at that point, he would have been like 27 because he's older. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. Damn. So maybe you did get off pretty easy, you know?
I think I did. I think the spankings were not my favorite, but missing the birthday party, you know, maybe.
That's really sad, though. I have to say, whenever I got grounded and I was grounded from like a school dance or a friend's party, that would devastate me.
Oh, God, yeah.
You just can't come back from that because everyone's talking about the party afterwards and you're missing out on literally the best time ever with one of your best friends. That's a really tough punishment, though, honestly.
And like in a small kid's world,
Yeah.
the birthday party is the thing. I mean, that's what makes or breaks friendships.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't like you anymore. You're not coming to my birthday party.
Yeah. Like, I'm surprised you guys are even still friends because all the birthday parties you miss.
Oh man, I maybe made one or two in high school and then maybe like one in middle school. And I remember one specifically where my mom was actually trying to go easy on me with my dad and was just like, come on, Trevin never goes to Luke's birthday parties.
She's like, this is his best friend.
I know, I understand that he gets bad grades, but can we just ground him afterwards and let him just go to this one?
Yeah.
Like, this kid literally does not go to these birthday parties because Luke's birthday falls on that time of the year where grades come out.
God.
And I always turned them around too. My grades were never permanently bad on the grade cards. It was just those progress reports were so bad.
Oh, okay. Damn. So you just like didn't try at the beginning of the year, huh?
I guess not. I never really liked school.
Yeah. I mean, I liked some parts of school, but really I didn't like school that much either.
Just wasn't for me.
Wow. Well, that was definitely the start of your criminal history, I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the blue mustache wouldn't have happened if this hadn't happened in your past. And I feel like we've all gotten to know you on a deeper level.
Yeah, it was also very dramatic. The fact that, I mean, I know I play our stuff have to be dramatic, but
Yeah.
I literally did like stop, put the book bag down and like very acted out, like almost like you were doing charades of it. I picked it up and I balled it up and I 1, 2, 3, 4. I walked across the place and then I didn't just easily toss the paper in. I literally like took it and like you were throwing a baseball like over my shoulder and threw it. Like I was giving it some sort of like burial at sea. Like it was just so overly done. And then like my mom's probably watching like, what the fuck?
Honestly, if you just would have casually discarded it,
Yeah.
you probably would have gone to every birthday party.
If I would have thrown it away when I got off the bus on that side of the road originally, my mom can't see through the bus, and it would have just been like quick toss. But no, I had to wait. It was a whole deal.
You had to march.
Yeah, it was. I don't even know.
That's just how kids are. They're really weird and really dramatic. I mean, it's okay. I know I was.
Yeah, and
Still am.
I talked to my mom about it like later in my life, and she was like, "It was so hard not to laugh." Like the whole time we were punishing you. I mean, yeah, your dad still had to spank you and blood curdling tears, but she was like, I was kind of giggling a little bit watching this whole trial. I'm like, well, it still scars me. So.
Oh my God. You're like, thanks a lot, Mom. I'm glad you got a good giggle out of it.
Yeah.
Well, I did have a couple connections. They may be kind of a stretch, but There were disappointed women and throwing away paper in both stories. Discarding and upset women. That's as good as I got.
I mean, that's a horror story to me. Anytime a woman's disappointed, it usually hurts me in a certain part of the heart.
Right. I would like to read an email that came in to us congratulating us on our 1-year anniversary. And, I kind of feel like I have some
explaining to do.
Oh my God. So recently, in a very recent episode, we gave this huge shout out to one of our newly really dedicated listeners, Vineyard Warrior. And both of us, for some reason, assumed that this listener was indeed a female.
Yeah, a lovely princess-like one.
With a flowing dress in the vineyard. And really, because their profile doesn't really have a lot of pictures of them. Mm-hmm. So we really made an error.
Yeah, when we go wrong, we go way wrong.
So let me just read this email, okay? Hello, Seriously Sinister. This is Thomas, he/him, aka the Vineyard Warrior. Ha ha. I appreciate the shout out, and as I was standing in the vineyard with the sun reflecting off my head, I was in hysterics, imagining the wind blowing majestically through my hair. I think that you two are doing an amazing job, and have greatly enjoyed how far you have come. I must say, as much as I love the news stories, as well as the stories that have been submitted, I absolutely loved the personal stories of you two. I can't remember what episode it was, but Trevin's blue mustache story had me to the point of almost not breathing laughing. The others in the vineyard must have thought I was losing it. Keep up the amazing work. You truly have a listener for life, and cannot wait for what the future holds for you two. Happy 1-year anniversary and many more to come. Thanks so much, Thomas, aka Vineyard Warrior.
Thomas, he, him, thank you so much for the kind words.
And you know what, Thomas? I just feel really ridiculous with our made-up description of you. But now I'll just picture, your shiny head glistening in the sunlight.
Yeah, that sounds nice too.
It sounds just as beautiful.
Yes.
So, wow. A whole year under our belts.
A whole 1 year.
I get it. Get it, Shotty. And also, thank you to everyone who sent in voice clips. That just makes our whole day to hear how much people do enjoy our show, and having actual listeners, podcast friends, family, whoever, actually having their voice on the show is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more. It feels like a collaborative thing, and I don't want you to toot my horn for me. But I just want to know that, without you, we wouldn't be here. So
yeah,
I enjoy having you on that show with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So cheers to another year. And just remember, everyone, no matter the crime, big or small, in the end, we're all doomed.
We are doomed.
Doomed.
Yeah.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Seriously Sinister.
If you have a true petty crime story to share, please email us at seriouslysinisterpodcast@gmail.com or send us a Facebook message.
If you would like to support our show, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review.
Also, tell your friends about this podcast.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Seriously Sinister Podcast.
And on Twitter at SeriouslySinPod.
Shout out to Trevin for writing all of the original music you hear and for producing our show. Follow him and his music at Fiesta Maiden on SoundCloud, Spotify, and Facebook.
And credit to Miranda Lucas for our awesome logo. You can find her on Instagram at MirandaLucas26.
All stories are written by myself and Trevin, and all stories are based on actual, true petty crimes.
You all will receive actual grades that you will take home to show your parents. She didn't sound like that.
I would have loved if she did.
No, she was actually just kind of a bitch.